It was fun actually to see Ashley playing the role of Nosy today, when that's usually Shanice's thing. And today the roles got reversed on Chenise, and Ashley was being the nosy one trying to figure out Shanice's tea. Greetings, Beyond the Gates fans. We are here to talk about another episode of the show. Today's Wednesday, January 7th. 2026 episode. Coming off of yesterday's boring episode, I was much pleased with today's episode. I enjoyed today's episode. I do feel as though, even though there was still talk about the cancer storyline, it was broken up by other storylines today, finally. So that is a good thing for me. I'm going to begin with our two villains. It was good to have, first of all, Leslie coming into the casino and Randy being there. And she came because Joey called Leslie for a meeting. Randy says, I'm sure Joey will be there soon. Randy and Leslie interactions are something I'm glad we're finally seeing. Although I still want the show to make Randy more, not only a little more prominent, but just they need to dig a little deeper into the Randy character. I've been saying it for a while, and I would still like to see that. But it was good to see Randy. I do hope we get back to the Randy and Lynette part of the storyline with Haley, because it's one of the more interesting things. But they haven't followed up on that in a while. They haven't followed up on Kyle in a while, so they're keeping us waiting for that. But Leslie did meet with Joey today, and he is going to be a part of her free clinic. And she was excited to learn that information. Tried to hug him, and he said, "Don't touch me," which was funny. Joey, however, in typical Joey Armstrong fashion, will need something in return for him putting money into the free clinic. Joey was asking for a substantial return. And in Leslie fashion, Leslie thought he was asking for some sex. She was going on about how Joey wants a nice lady in the streets like Vanessa, but a freak in the sheets like her. But then she said, unfortunately for Joey, she started something new, talking about Marcel. Joey, however, was not talking about that. He wanted the clinic dedicated to the late Doug McBride. Leslie was, of course, surprised to hear this and said that Joey must feel guilty about what went down with Doug. Little does Leslie know just how much went down with Doug. But with Leslie being brought into this storyline, will she eventually find out exactly what Joey did have done to Doug, thanks to Marcel? That's a big possibility. But Leslie was going on about how Doug got addicted to gambling in Joey's casino and then wrecked his car after drinking booze in Joey's casino. Joey was saying that it has nothing to do with guilt. He is honoring the father of Vanessa's children. So Leslie now sees that Joey must really, really like Vanessa, and maybe Vanessa is Joey's weakness, which I guess Vanessa is Joey's weakness, because even though he will push back for a while on Vanessa, he always tends to give in. It's good to see these two share scenes again. It went better than the first time these two shared scenes like a week or two ago. I'm hoping for these dynamics to continue to develop. And honestly, John Lindstrom, who plays Joey, lit up today in these scenes with Leslie, because Joey can be very one note, and it's not necessarily John Lindstrom's fault as an actor. I've always liked John Lindstrom as an actor, but they write Joey as pretty one note. And then a lot of you in the comments were talking about how Joey's supposed to be this gangster, but he's never involved in action, and it makes him just boring. Like, if the show's going to have a gangster, then we need to see more action. And I do agree with that, but that's also why I call him Grandpa Gangster, because we don't get that kind of action from this old man. But John Lindstrom lit up in those scenes with Leslie today, and those scenes were fun. As much as a lot of people complain about Leslie, I still think she brings out a lot of fun scenes out of a lot of different characters, and today was one of those occasions. Now, Joey met up with Vanessa after, per usual, to talk about how, well, let me first say Leslie compromised with Joey, allegedly, that they'll just name a room after Doug at the free clinic. And then she left before Joey could really have a response to that. So I don't know if that's exactly what Joey wanted, but Joey did tell Vanessa afterwards about his deal with Leslie, which of course made Vanessa quite happy. And then Leslie met up with Marcel, and Marcel learned that Leslie is doing business with Joey, and of course wants Leslie to rethink that because Marcel's been under Joey's thumb for years now, it seems. Marcel wants Leslie to make sure that Joey is using clean money to fund the clinic. And then we see Randy seeing Marcel and Leslie kissing. So what will Randy bring to this story? It would be very interesting to see Randy see Leslie as a mark, you know. If Randy, Haley, Lynette have this history of conning people, why not have Randy try and con Leslie? Although a lot of people think Marcel's already trying to do that to get money out of her. But it makes more sense coming from Randy, who we now know has a history of being a con man, along with Haley and Lynette. So there's exciting possibilities if the show decides to go an exciting route for once. I think they could be setting up a lot of good stuff with some of these more dubious characters on the show. Today also had Ashley and Shanice scenes. Ashley started the episode on the phone with her mom. Apparently her mom's been on this cruise and has some new crush. But the bigger story was that Ashley finds Shanice in a more lighter, laid-back mood than usual. And then when Ted came up on the elevator, Shanice was talking about how she may have found love in an unexpected place, or she was talking about finding love in unexpected places. Ted ended up thanking Shanice for the advice he gave him about Nicole, and he said that Shanice is a very insightful person. Ashley was watching this. It was fun, actually, to see Ashley playing the role of nosy today, when that's usually Shanice's thing. And today, the roles got reversed on Chenise, and Ashley was being the nosy one, trying to figure out Shanice's tea, asking Chenise what's going on between Shanice and Ted, because Ashley clearly saw Ted flirting with Shanice. Shanice then gave her more work to do to try and distract her from asking these questions about Shanice's personal life. Shanice told Ashley that she likes to indulge in other people's tea, but she doesn't like to spill her own. But then did end up telling Ashley that she spent New Year's with Ted, or New Year's Eve with Ted, basically alluding that they did in fact kiss. So Ashley was excited about that. Then Danny and Nicole's test results came back, so we'll see if they get those results tomorrow. I would assume so. I would hope they wouldn't make us wait till Friday to probably tell us that Nicole is the one that tested positive. But then Shanice and Ted ended today's episode in the elevator with Shanice looking like she was going in for another kiss with Ted, but the doors closed. So they continued to build up that Shanice and Ted relationship. I was here for it today. I still think they could have done it more of a slow burn than what they have given us, or at least a longer friends to lovers storyline. But they are still kind of taking us on a slow journey with these two, although they've been getting a lot of airtime, especially like if you compare it to some other couples, like even Eva and Isaiah, although it seems like Eva and Isaiah don't really have a direction. I don't know if Shanice and Ted really have a direction either, though, because, like, what's the obstacle if they're already starting to kiss more and more? I do think the show needs to find some more obstacles for their couples, because everyone just kind of, like, gets together, and then they're together, and then it's like, well, then what? Are we going to have them be like Chelsea and Madison and have them have a storyline about Madison's mother off screen? Hopefully not. Who else was on today? Danny was out with Vanessa. Didn't really pay attention to those scenes because Vanessa was in them. The failed character of Vanessa, as I like to call her. Vanessa wanted to know how Danny was coping. They talked about Joey a little bit. Danny said that Joey hit the jackpot with Vanessa. I paid a little more attention when the conversation turned to about Andre and not Joey. And Danny talking about how she's not worried that Andre's jealous of Bill, saying that Andre's not worried about Bill and her closeness to Bill right now with the whole Anita and their children thing. and saying that Andre's not the jealous type, although little does she know it does seem like Andre is starting to feel some type of way about Bill. Nicole brought breakfast to Smitty and Martin and Tyrell. Samantha was sleeping in. Nicole wants the family to be more bonded and connected. Later, Samantha, who slept in, came down. Samantha's excited for this cotillion thing the show is doing, although she was feeling guilty about feeling excited for the cotillion because of what's going on with her grandma, Anita. And then Nicole and Tyrell kind of got into it over the cotillion because Tyrell feels like it's a whole party for the elite who just turn their noses up at other people, and talking about how where Tyrell and Samantha originally come from was not a place where other people like them would have been able to get into this cotillion thing if not for Tyrell and Samantha being adopted by Smitty and Martin. Now, I'm glad that the scenes between Jessica and Tyrell actually meant something yesterday, because I wasn't sure where they were going with that, but they did tie into today with Tyrell basically repeating Jessica's talking points. Tyrell really does seem to be the type that maybe becomes their significant other's personality. That's kind of what I'm getting from the Tyrell and Jessica relationship, and Samantha did call him out on that today, that he was basically regurgitating words from Jessica's mouth. Samantha doesn't want her past to be a martyr badge like Tyrell seems to want it to be. Nicole told Tyrell to have Jessica talk to Nicole about the cotillion, so I'm assuming we're going to get some cotillion party thing for the teens at some point. The show has not done a great job with their parties lately, in my opinion. I don't know if this will bring us any drama or not, but I'm going to say not. That's my prediction. But I'm at least glad they followed up on the Jessica and Tyrell scenes yesterday and made them mean something today. And honestly, overall, outside of the Vanessa scenes, today was a pretty solid episode. I especially liked Leslie and Joey, of course, but also bringing in Randy, a little interesting there. Of course, Leslie's relationship with Marcel continues to bloom, and I like that I don't know where they are going with this Leslie and Marcel relationship. And that's a good thing. I don't want it to be predictable, but I do want it to go somewhere. I want it to have vision, which a lot of these stories have not lately. Here's hoping the writers have vision for that storyline and many others.